Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy, Buzzworthy Bumblebee, Autobot Silverstreak. That's a lot of words for a little car. Let's go ahead and bring that packaging in as we always do. And we will start right up here with this big empty hole, which is the display window. So yay for big empty holes. And then coming on down, you have that artwork of Silverstreak in his car mode. Looking good. Buzzworthy Bumblebee, Autobot Silverstreak, Transformers up the side. On this side, you have that artwork of him in his bot mode, and he looks pretty good there. I like that artwork. Got the Legacy logo down low. Autobot Silverstreak on the back. Product shots, Legacy. And you have all your warnings. And you do have the sad baby back here, and we will talk about why the baby is sad, because I have a theory. And over here on this side, you've got some random artwork of some other characters to enjoy. Up top, you have Legacy. Down low, you have manufacturing information. Now, I want to point out that I think the baby is sad because nowhere on this box does it state what class Silverstreak is. I know he's a deluxe class because he's the same mold as Smokescreen, Prowl, Bluestreak from the War for Cybertron trilogy. However, it's not stated on the box anywhere, and I thought that was kind of interesting, and that's my theory on why the baby's sad. Anyway, that being said, let's go ahead and crack that box open and see what came inside that packaging. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box, and we'll start with a little sheet of warnings. Yay for warnings. And then you do have his instruction booklet, and that leaves the 3 accessories that he came with. We'll start over here on the right-hand side, and we'll look at these shoulder-mounted weapons, cannons, guns, whatever you want to call them. So, not a lot going on as far as the detail here. Just a little bit of sculpt work on those. They're the same on both sides. And they are white. There's no paint on there anywhere. You do have blast effect compatibility on the tip. And these are 5mm pegs, tabs, whatever you want to call them. So, you're not relegated to just putting them in his shoulder slots. You can also put them in his forearm ports, or anywhere that you have a 5mm port. Have a good time. They are identical. I guess you could, do this if you wanted to, so you can have something like that going on. But yeah, these are identical, and they are pretty much the same thing that we got with all the Earthrise versions of this mold as well. So no big surprises there. And then we'll move on to his gun. So pretty much the same thing going on here. This is a similar gun to what we got with the Earthrise mold. Decent amount of sculpt work in there, but nothing too amazing. No other paint details or anything like that on it. So yeah, just a big old rifle. So there you go. Now that's it for everything that came inside the box. What we'll do now is we will bring Silverstreak in for his close-up and take a look at his details. Here he is, the bot you all clicked on this video to see. This is the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Deluxe Class Autobot Silverstreak. And even though it doesn't say on the box, I know he's a deluxe class, and you know he's a deluxe class because this is the same mold that we got for the War for Cybertron Earthrise figures. So your Bluestreak, your Prowl, your Smokescreen, it's the same guy, just repainted. That being said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time covering details or articulation here because you guys have seen it already, and if you haven't, go back, take a look at my Bluestreak video that I did. I went into a lot of detail on that video covering those things, but we will bring him in here and kind of take a quick look at his overall color scheme and some of his details, because even though he's a remold, I do like this color scheme, and I do like what they've done here. He's a good looking figure. So let's start up here with that head. And you've got that nice blue and gold and the silver face and the blue eyes. And coming up here, that is a nice matte silver finish. You've got that Autobot logo. You do have smoky gray translucent headlights right there, which is a nice touch. And you've got the black on that grill coming down here. Abdomen, crotch, upper legs. This is all everything we've seen before. There's no paint here, just some sculpted in detail. Coming on down to the legs, same thing here. You have that smoky, translucent plastic. Looks pretty good. And then you have his feet, which of course are is the tail of the car. So you've got those painted tail lights there. You got the exhaust. Would have been nice if we could have gotten maybe some silver on those exhaust tips. That would have been pretty cool. I mean, he is Silverstreak, so that would have been nice. And over here, Just like the other molds, you have these wheels on these mushroom pegs, but at least this is all black right here, so you don't have just a heavy contrast between a good-looking wheel and then a nasty black mushroom peg in there. Still not a fan, but at least it kind of blends in. Got a 5mm port right there, and then coming up, same old stuff we've already seen. Looking up underneath, same stuff we've already seen, just a couple of hollow areas, but overall not too bad. This really is overall a very good mold. The design and the engineering and everything, there's an elegance in the simplicity of this. It works, it's fun, so no major complaints as far as that under there. And then coming around here and look at the arms, you got a couple 5mm ports. You do have this 3mm peg right there that you can use a blast effect on. Of course, you get his fists. And then coming around to the back, there he is from the back. Good looking figure, even from the back. Yeah, he's hollow down here. They all are. It's really not that bad. I mean, number one, you're not going to see your figures from the back too often. Number two, it's a deluxe class, so I'm going to overlook some of that. And, you know, you do have these little flaps that they've integrated for this mold. So you kind of fill in that foot, especially if you're going to see him from the side. So if you've got him in some kind of a pose from the front, you know, you're not going to see that hollowness. He's going to fill in pretty good right there. So for the most part, I think details and articulation on this guy, you know, they're what we know because of the Earthrise mold already. But really, for a deluxe class, there was a lot of love that I think went into this design, and it shows. They look good. They present really well on the shelf, and you can get them in darn near any pose you can imagine. Really, the only thing missing would be maybe an ab crunch, but everything else, this mold, this figure is going to do it in spades for you. So what we'll do now is I'll throw some accessories on. We'll throw some blast effects on this guy, have a little bit of fun there, take a look at him, and then we'll get him into his car mode and do some comparisons. So as you can tell, this mold does not suffer from a lack of blast effect compatibility. I mean, he's got ports and pegs everywhere. You can absolutely just load this guy up with blast effects, and really you're limited only by your imagination. And I'm sure I've even missed a couple spots there, but you can do everything on this guy. I mean, you can give him the rocket boots, so he's a flying Silverstreak. You can have him getting shot in the forearms, in the legs, in the back. You have, of course, the energy coming out, or the blast effects coming out of his weapons, and those shoulder-mounted cannons. Not only do they have the blast effect compatibility on the front, which is always nice, but you do also have the ports on the sides, so you can see you've got a little bit going on there, and then you've got the little pegs on the arms and the forearms right there where you can put some more blast effects. So you can absolutely have a great time with this mold. That is one of the nice things about this mold. Even though we've seen this 3 or 4 times in the past already, and he is just a remold, there's just so much fun to be had here, limited really only by your imagination. So what we'll do now is we'll get him in his alt mode, and we'll take a look at his details there, and then we'll jump into those alt mode comparisons. Through the magic of video editing, here we see Silverstreak in his car mode. And for those of you who want to see the transformation step by step, I refer you back to my Silverstreak video that I did. I did the transformation there from the bot mode to the alt mode back to the bot mode. So if you have any questions or you feel like you need to take a look at that, go check that video out. Well, let's go ahead and get into the details of Silverstreak in his car mode right here. And it really does look good. This is as I've said before, this is a nice looking mold. Turns into a really good looking car, and almost Nissan style of car, harkening back to those G1 figures. So let's go ahead and bring him in for his close-up. And we've seen all this before. This was his chest, but we haven't seen this. We have not seen the cowl on the intake on that hood. So that looks really cool. And of course, you've got the ports right up here. This is where his weapons go, and same thing right here. But looking at that front, you see those headlights and that grille, all looking good. Got those mushroom pegs on those wheels, so great. And all blue here. You do have a little bit of detail. You've got that handle right there, making your way to the back. Painted tail lights, and you do have that black strip right there. As I stated in bot mode, would have been nice if we could have seen some silver on those exhaust tips. But he is a deluxe class, so we got what we got. And here he is from the left side. Looking pretty good. Here he is from the top. And from the bottom, I do want to talk about something here on the bottom. This is a mild annoyance. I guess it's a bit of a QC issue in vehicle mode, but for the transformation, you have, and I will open this door here and I'll show you, you have these little tabs on the forearms that correspond to these slots on the doors. My tabs, either my tabs are a little bit too big or those slots are a little bit too small, and I'm going to attribute that to tool wear for the mold. And I do think these tabs got slightly oversized because I can get the doors shut just fine, but I am struggling to get the arms, those tabs in there, and to have them stay. So it's very tight, and if I just barely touch it, they pop right out. So I'm going to say that that's a bit of a QC issue there, just a tolerance issue. Now you can still get the door closed just fine, and he looks great in vehicle mode without having those tabbed in, but it is an annoyance. All right, so there he is in his car mode, and I really do think that this is a good looking design, and that paint works really well for him. Now this surface is not conducive to rolling, but in this mode he does roll really well. So there's nothing that catches underneath, so you've got plenty of clearance there. So that all works out really well. So what we'll do now, we'll throw his accessories on and take a look at him from there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time as far as the blast effects or anything. We're just going to talk about the accessories and the weapon storage in this mode, again, which is something that you've probably seen a few times by now with those other molds. So you do have that big port right up here at the top, and you're just going to take the rifle and you're going to plug the rifle in, and yeah, voila, weapon storage. And then you'll do the same thing with these, and you'll plug them in the slots right there. I have noticed that these slots are kind of loose, so they're not going to fall out, but it doesn't take anything for me to take those out. So again, I'm going to attribute that to tool wear and just assume that they've lost a little bit of tolerance as far as that goes. So there's your weapon storage if you like it. Me personally, I do not. I don't think I'm the biggest fan of having those weapons in the car mode like that. So most of the time when I have my guys in their car mode or their alt mode, I don't have the weapons on there, but your toy, up to you, whatever you want to do. So what we'll do now, let's go ahead and jump into those comparisons and take a look at some other alt mode vehicles and see how this guy stacks up. For our first comparison, this is the G1 Prowl. Here we see Legacy Silverstreak next to the Transformers Prime Smokescreen. Moving on to our next comparison, this is the Transformers Alternators Silverstreak. So you can see a couple silver streaks there. And for our next comparison, here we see the Masterpiece MP06 Bluestreak. Continuing the trend of Autobots that have the word streak in their name, here is the Combiner Wars Sunstreaker. For a War for Cybertron Decepticon comparison, here is the Earthrise Runabout. Next up is the Studio Series 86 Jazz. For our next comparison, here we see Silverstreak with 3 versions of the Siege mold, which is really similar to the Earthrise mold that he's based off of. So from left to right, we have the Siege Prowl, Siege Barricade, and Siege Sparkless Bot, so you can see how those guys compare. And for our final comparison, here we have a group shot of the Earthrise moldmates. So from left to right, of course, you have the new Legacy Silverstreak, Bluestreak, Prowl, and Smokescreen. Just something interesting I want to point out here. These guys share the same components, same design, same engineering, same transformation, but there are a few subtle differences which I find a little interesting, particularly if you look at the front ends of Silverstreak and Bluestreak over here. They actually have different lower air dam areas. So I would have thought that the two Streak brothers would have shared those similarities, but Silverstreak actually shares that front end with Smokescreen. Bluestreak shares that front end with Prowl. So just a few little things there that Hasbro does to kind of shake it up and make sure that they're not exactly the same every time, I suppose, but still a lot of shared components. But yeah, I mean, these guys look pretty good together. They're all pretty much the same release of the same mold, but they work. They're kind of like the Seekers. They look good. That's it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's get this guy transformed back into a bot and do some comparisons there. For our first robot mode comparison, here we see the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee, Autobot Silverstreak, next to my original G1 Prowl. Moving on to our next comparison, this is the Beast Hunter's Smokescreen, as we saw him from the Transformers Prime series. For our next spot mode comparison, this is the Transformers Alternators Silverstreak. Next up is the Transformers Masterpiece MP06 Bluestreak. Up next is our representative from the Combiner Wars line, and hey, both of these guys are streaks of some kind. Silverstreak and Sunstreaker. So there you go. Next up is Runabout. He is our representative as the Decpticon from the Transformers War for Cybertron line. From the Studio Series 86 line, this is Autobot Jazz. For our next comparison, this is a bit of a group shot. What we're looking at here is the new Legacy Silverstreak next to 3 of the Siege version of the same mold. So the 3 figures here, they are the Siege version of the same mold as Silverstreak. There's only a slight few changes in the transformation, but for the most part they are very similar transformation, and they do have some shared components. So from left to right, we're looking at Prowl, Barricade, and the Sparkle Spot, so you can see how those guys compare next to Silverstreak or vice versa. And for our final bot comparison, this is another group shot. So this is Silverstreak with 3 of his identical mold mates. So from left to right, this is Prowl, Smokescreen, and Bluestreak. Other than a few cosmetic differences in the bumpers, that is really the only difference between these 4 figures. Everything else is the same shared components, same engineering, same transformation, but with those different color schemes, it's really cool to see all 4 of these guys together. Very much like Seekers, they're all their own unique personalities, and even though they share almost everything the same, they are unique and their own, and it's fun to have them in the collection. That will do it for the comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. Man, oh man, what to say about this figure. I would say in short, if I hadn't already seen this thing 6 or 7 times, I would be telling you guys, don't wait, run to your local retailers and pick this guy up right away because he's awesome. But this is the 6th, 7th, 8th iteration that we've seen of this mold, so I'm a little less enthusiastic. But let's go ahead and get into the bullets real quick here, and we'll start with the overall aesthetics, the overall looks of this figure. Yeah, it's a good-looking mold. It looks good in both the bot mode, it looks good in the vehicle mode as well. You know, he's got a few hollow areas. You can see those hollow areas right now on the backs of the legs. But he looks good. They have a really good shelf presence here, and the vehicle mode looks fantastic, except for those mushroom pegs. Those mushroom pegs are ugly. There's no denying it. There's no getting around it. I hate them. I don't use that word often, but I'm using it here. I hate those mushroom pegs. They don't look as bad on Silverstreak here as they do on some of the other mold mates because those wheels are black, but they're ugly, and I'm knocking him down a little bit for that, especially considering we've seen this mold so many other times. So I'm giving this guy an 8 out of 10 on aesthetics, with 2 of those points taking off almost exclusively because of those ugly mushroom pegs. Moving on to the articulation, this is where he shines. This is a good mold for articulation. You can do almost everything you want to do with this guy, and if you need to see all the articulation, I encourage you to go back and take a look at my Silverstreak review that I did. I cover articulation in depth on that video. But yeah, every joint that you need, you can use. Really, the only thing we're missing here is an ab crunch, and even then, I don't really miss it on this figure. So articulation on this mold is really good. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on articulation. Moving on to his accessories. Yeah, you know, they're okay. We've seen them so many times at this point. The first time I saw them, I thought they were cool, you know, and here we are at time number 7, whatever it is, and they're just okay now. You know, they have blast effect compatibility, which I'm utilizing here, and I really appreciate that, but this is the same stuff we've already seen. I do like the fact that with those little shoulder-mounted guns, you do have the ability, you can put it on the main rifle, you can plug him into his arms, you can plug him into his legs, do all those different things, so you can give him different looks. So that is good. It adds to the playability, but they're just the same old things we've already seen. So for accessories, I'm going to give this guy a 7 out of 10. And moving on to our next value, our next bullet, which is quality. Everything on this guy is high quality except for those doors. So if you go back and take a look when I was showing you the details in the vehicle mode, you'll see what I'm talking about there, but I simply cannot tab those doors in to the tabs on his arms when he's in his alt mode. I don't know if the tabs are too big, I don't know if the slots are too little, but it seems to me like maybe there's some tooling wear going on. Who knows how many hundreds of thousands of times Hasbro and Takara have used this tooling to make those door panels right there or those forearms, and at some point that tooling is going to wear out. And I think that may be a case of what we're seeing here. So I can deal with it on my figure. It doesn't hinder the transformation. It's not 100% perfect, but I can deal with it. My concern is down the road, after a few more thousand runs in that tooling, somebody's going to get a hold of one of these guys that just simply doesn't work. So overall quality for my figure is okay, but I do have concerns about those doors. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 on quality. Bringing us to our last bullet, overall value. Yeah, this is a tough one. I just don't know if the value is there. You know, this is another copy and paste job. He looks good. I know he's his own character in the, you know, Transformers canon, so I guess that helps. But this is just another version of Prowl, you know, Smokescreen, Bluestreak, Barricade. You take your pick. You know, how many times have we seen this thing? So it makes me wonder, how many more times am I going to buy this mold? You know, so it makes it more difficult to buy every single time. Couple that with the fact that prices have gone up, and I start to get really concerned that I want to spend my money on a deluxe class that I already have a few different versions of. So I picked this guy up at a local Target for $23 in North America. So yeah, it's a little on the pricey side, so I'm going to give this guy a 6 out of 10 on overall value. I just don't know if the value's there. He looks so good. That's really his only redeeming quality. But man, that these days, that's a lot of money to part with. So that being said, that gives us an overall, out of a total of 50 possible points, the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Autobot Silverstreak gets 38 out of 50, which is a 76%. I guess in summary here, if you don't have this mold, pick him up. It's definitely a good design, and you're definitely going to have a lot of fun with him. But if you're like me and you already have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different versions of this guy, you're probably not going to miss anything if you skip out on this figure, especially if money's tight. I think with the Legacy line coming out, there are better figures to pick up than this guy. No offense, Silverstreak, but yeah, I think that for those who have to make hard choices, you're going to stay on the shelf. So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. I hope you guys were entertained. I hope you got some good information out of this. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe and leave some comments. Let me know what you think about the channel. Let me know what you think about this figure. I'd be interested to hear your guys' take on that. So until we see you in the next review, take care.